Hello. I wanted to preface this video by saying that this interview is a little bit old. We did this back in early November, maybe late October, right after Connect 5 had came out. So we won't mention the latest three singles. We'll talk about Connect 5, we'll talk about the band, and then obviously Jude. We did this for a class I was taking over the fall. We did the interview over Zoom, so at times the audio is going to cut out and the video is going to have some imperfections. It's nothing that serious though. And the interview is mostly uncut. I only cut out the dead space because I wanted to make this interview as raw as possible, and I didn't want to cut out any of my questions. So, yeah, hope you enjoy. What's going on, everyone? I'm really excited to have the chance to get this interview right here. Do you mind just introducing yourself for anyone that may not know?
Yeah, my name is Jude Ciulla. I am a member of the band Laundry Day. I feel like that's all I gotta say. That's the intro.
That's all they need to hear. Yeah. I want to get right into Connect 5. That's where I want to start.
So,
Congrats, by the way, with that release. What do you
thank
think
you.
Connect 5 means to you? And what do you think it's accomplished for Laundry Day already?
Great question. What does Connect Five mean? I think this song just ended up being a super important song for us in our process. We were working on an album for a long time, and this song sort of came at a point where we were not feeling so confident. We weren't sure what the album was going to be. Felt like we were going nowhere, and then this song sort of popped up, and it was like it just brought the energy back. And I think we really held on to that feeling and pushed through, and this song ended up being uh, a song that actually ended up being really hard to make. So it represents that feeling of that excitement, but also that feeling of how hard it is to do this and how hard it is to make music and how hard it is to be in a band. um yeah, I mean, I feel like that sums it up. I can definitely talk about that all day.
Yeah, can you walk through some of the challenges you faced along the way with Connect 5?
Yeah. So there was a bunch of stuff. I mean, I feel like every time we make an album, there's like one or two songs that end up just like beating the shit out of you, and you just can't get it right. You're trying different arrangements and different versions, and this was just one of those songs. I think like we've just never worked on a song as much as we worked on this one. There were countless versions, and it got to the point where like we just started like bouncing them and naming them like Connect 4040 million. Like we were just like fuck, we were so, it was crazy. We lost count. Um and yeah, it was just like it started with just like a rough verse and the chorus that really ended up being the final chorus, and it was just the whole struggle was just trying to live around that chorus and get everything right. And we tried different verses, and then you try a different bridge, and we like that was the biggest challenge. It was just like getting the perfect parts to live around the chorus. um and then like beyond that though, like a more specific example is like we're struggling, we made a bunch of versions, and then we accidentally lost the project,
I
which
get it.
I don't think we haven't said that to anybody yet, but like we lost the project, we lost all the files, and so we had to start over. So it was just like we
Real-
started it from scratch, and then we like, yeah, it was just hell. It was really hell, but I'm happy with how it came out.
How long were you into making Connect 5 when you lost it?
Like months. Like we had like had a pretty solid version. It wasn't done, but it was like on its way, and we were just starting to feel really confident about the whole thing. And like the verses were there, like pretty much what the final verses like lyrically and melodically were there, and then it was just gone, and we had to start it over from scratch. And it was funny though, because we basically like it sounds pretty much the same. We were able to recreate it pretty much perfectly. So, but still, it sucked. It was terrible.
Oh, I can't imagine that. I've had a similar thing happen with me before.
Oh, it was so bad. It was like we were trying to we were like doing this like iCloud backup, and it just got messed up. And because we realized it was going to take a really long time, and we stopped it. And then everything that had been backed up before we stopped it was deleted. So we lost like all of our projects from like the letter A to the letter D. So like Connect was in there. There was other stuff, but it was like, it was fucking insane.
That is a
It
nightmare.
was terrible. It was terrible.
So I see Connect Five as a great blend of rock and pop music with like a lot of great elements of modern music throughout the production. Can you tell me what the original vision was for Connect Five, and did that vision shift throughout the process of creating it?
Another great question. You know, I feel like there wasn't too much of a vision. I think all that it really was like you have that original idea, like I was saying, like we had that chorus and we had the guitar chords, like the dun, 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 that, you know. Um, and like it was just holding on to that, and that kind of became like what the song was, and we couldn't escape that. So there was definitely from the get-go like this poppy thing. And I think we wanted to give into that. We wanted to give into how catchy the chorus was and how lush it was. And so it was just like feeding into that. And, but then, yeah, as it went on, we wanted to make it a little bit more rocky for sure, make it a little bit harder, make it a little bit grittier. Um, and also just make it sound as big as possible. We wanted it to feel like this like arena song, you know?
Yeah,
And I think we pulled that off. I think it feels like our biggest, like most like open song.
for sure. So and in the music video,
Yeah.
that sweater, that sweater. So like you and the rest of the boys are all walking through New York in that big sweater that's all stitched together. Is there a deeper meaning with that sweater, or is it just supposed to connect the five of you together?
You know, like most things that we do, it's just sort of to be confusing and to be crazy.
Yeah.
I can't say that it had a large symbolism around it. It actually started off, I came up with the idea of us all wearing a sweater unrelated to Connect. Um, uh, and so like it was just like this random idea of like, oh, it'd be cool to do a photo shoot or like a scene of a music video where we're all wearing one sweater. Like it just started there. And then that idea was just floating around for a while, and then it came time to do a music video for Connect Five, and it just was like it clicked, and it's like, oh my god, that's literally the perfect thing, and it just made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess in that sense, it has deeper meaning because it does line up with the title, and I think it has some symbolism, but that wasn't the intention behind it at all. It
I
just
got it.
worked out.
You've mentioned on a live stream before that you knew your
Yeah.
upcoming album was finished when Kevin Abstract told you it didn't sound like Brockhampton. Uh, and I think Connect Five really proves that. What do you think led you to find your personal style that had differentiated yourself from something your music had been compared to relatively frequently?
Great question. Let's think about this. I think it wasn't something you could force. I think it was just a matter of time. I think we were getting a lot of comparisons, and like we definitely talked about it, and I think it pushed us to step away. But at the same time, like we couldn't really force it, and it just so happened that as we were getting more tired of these comparisons, we were getting more confident in what we could do individually and what we could do that was unique to Laundry Day.
Yeah,
So I think it was just a matter of giving into like putting all of our eggs in that basket and just being like, let's do everything that only we can do. Because I think it's easy to just be like, oh, let's do this because someone else did it, and it was just cutting that thing out and only doing what we wanted to do and what we could do. Again, easier said than done, but it was just we were ready for that. We were finally ready to just we had made enough music and and just gotten confident enough to just dig into what we could do best. Yeah.
yeah. So then I want to talk about some other stuff kind of going on right now. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a big emphasis as of late with Laundry Day and your home state of New York.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you to represent New York with this new wave of Gen Z music?
Um, I mean, it's all we want to do, really. I don't really know when it started, but it just came to, I think we just like, oh, you know when it started, honestly, when we went on tour in Europe, and we all came back from that tour. I don't know if it was, I think a big part of it was just being away from home, but we all came back with this pride for New York, just being away from it, being fish out of water in Europe. And that makes you think about who you are and what you represent and how you present yourself, you know? And so coming back to our home, we just felt this pride and we felt so connected to it by being away. And I think that just like got ingrained in us to be like, okay, this is something that really makes us special, being from New York, and something we can be confident about and be adamant about. So I think from then on, that just sort of marinated, and since then it's been pretty natural to be pushing it. And it's cool to hear you even say that, because it's just hard to tell if that's working, but I think we have been pushing it pretty hard. And I think it's just like, we want to be, the way I've put it before is like, I want to be synonymous with New York. When you think of Laundry Day, you think of New York the same way, you know, other artists, you associate them with where they're from. It's just so ingrained in who they are. And like, I mean, there's so much New York music history. I think that's another thing too. We want to be a part of that. And I think we like love looking at the Strokes or Beastie Boys or Velvet Underground or the Ramones, like all these people that came up in New York and represented New York, and like it just made them 10 times cooler because New York is so fucking awesome.
I totally get that.
I wear a Philly shirt, but
no, it's definitely working. You guys are really pushing that, and it's gonna keep working, I can tell you.
You know what else it is too? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're good.
It just made me think of something like, and this goes back to the Brockhampton thing. Like I saw in an interview that Kevin did once, he was talking about how like when he was making all the saturation videos, he used to talk to Spike Jonze because they were working with Vice at the time. And Spike Jonze just told him, like, you got to just use your environment as your canvas, that's your world. Like make videos, make art that shows your world. And I think I would just wanted to do that for us. It's like, if anyone else made a video walking around Times Square and they weren't from New York, like that'd be a little corny, but we did it because it's our world, and you know, like we can own up to it and we can be individual in that way. I think that was a big part of it, like showing these are the streets we walk on, like the deli in the music video, that's the deli we went to after school every day. Like it was just about telling that story. Sorry, I just wanted to give that.
I'm glad. How do you think being from New York has affected your art, whether it was the music or all the visuals you put out?
It's been huge. I mean, it's like, in a big way, like it's raised us, the city, as much as our parents have, as much as music has. It's like being in this environment, being in such a crazy world that is New York City, it influences the music. It's made us so eclectic. I think it's made us move so fast, you know? And it's made us confident. It's made us like feel like we can do anything, you know? So, I mean, it's countless, the reasons. And I think like something we'll say sometimes when we make music, if we can say it sounds really New York, like it just sounds fucking active. It sounds huge. It sounds bustling. It's just like exciting.
Yeah, I completely get that. Now I want to pivot a little bit, kind of talk about your success in the music industry a little bit. So right now you're part of a successful band, and you're with all your best friends in it, and your sister Simone is finding a lot of success in her solo career. Can you tell me what it's like to see those that are close to you winning alongside you? And do you think that's influenced your artistic vision at all?
Well, I mean, it's a huge part. I think me and my sister grew up obviously in the same way. We did a lot of music together. We did musical theater together. Our lives were so intertwined. And to see, we bounce back and forth. We share music, and I love when she wins and she loves when I win, and we share stuff with each other. I mean, she literally texted me Connect 5 today. Like she was listening to it and she just sent me it. And she's like, this is so good. Like, so we support each other. And it gives you an energy. It gives you confidence to feel like you're in it with someone, with family. I mean, there's nothing like that. And then, of course, the band, that's just, I can't even understate that at all. It's just like so amazing to have people around me like that. At the end of the day, they're really the only guys that I can truly, truly connect with, like deeply, because of just the way that we see the world. There's really no one else I can relate to in that deep of a way. So that's the best part. And, you know, sometimes it's easy to forget that sometimes though, because you can get caught up in your own head. But I try to remind myself like, oh yeah, these are the guys that are going to understand me. These are the guys I need to be communicating with and talking about my feelings with.
Yeah. And then a bit more about the industry. I would say,
Yeah.
like right now, our generation, Gen Z, is making their biggest breakthroughs that they ever have before, and everyone
Yep.
is trying to navigate through this new world that's completely new to us. Uh,
Yep.
can you talk to me about how it's been trying to find your way through the industry and what some challenges have been?
It's really hard. I mean, for so many reasons. One, there's just so much noise,
Yeah,
and we all see it every day. We all are constantly bombarded with different people's music, different people's photos, different people's everything. It's just like it's all coming at us. You go on TikTok and it's like it's just there's so many artists out there. And so it's really hard to stand out. I think it's really hard to break through. It's really hard to show people that, hey, I have something that other people don't. Um, and like you just think about it, like there's just no like really concrete definition of like who the stars are right now. It's all so dependent on what your corner of the internet is. And
yeah,
I think that's just such a big change. It felt like not too long ago there was such a consistency with, okay, these people are the most famous people in the world, and then you didn't really hear about everyone else. And now it's like you gotta dig for it, and like there's people that might be huge to me that you've never heard of. It's just crazy. So I bring that up to say it's just hard to get into the mix of that. It's not like you can just snap into it and be a part of that. I mean, it happens maybe once in a blue moon. It's like Olivia Rodrigo was such an anomaly in that sense. Like to see someone just come out of it out of nowhere
yeah,
was super inspiring, but also I kind of was jealous of it because it was like, oh, if she can just pop out like people were in like 2010, like, is that still possible? How is that still possible? Um, so anyway, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but it's tough to get out there. It's like a lot of work trying to be active on social media and pushing through all the noise. Um, so that's definitely been the hardest part, just like trying to make ourselves known.
I gotcha. No, that makes sense, and that was a good tangent. I like that. Uh,
I'm passionate about that. I think about that stuff all the time, just how different it is and how hard, like, I mean, our our music teacher in high school would say to us, or he said to us once, like when we were first starting the band, he was like really one of the first people that ever really supported it, and knew about it. And he was like, we were showing him some of our music, and he was like, if it was the 60s right now, you guys would get signed to a label right now and you would be the biggest band in the world. And
yeah,
it was like an amazing compliment, but also kind of upsetting because it's like, fuck, like if only. um it's just so much more difficult now, you know. I
yeah,
truly think like we've put out some amazing stuff, but like, you know, it's just so hard to
yeah.
push out of the noise.
That actually ties perfectly into my next question. Uh, so like you've kind of said here, I've heard a lot of people talk about releases where they'd say like if this was put out, 10 years ago, this would be a hit or this would be bigger. Do you think there's a different generation that you would prefer Laundry Day be around for, or are you pretty content with this current era that you're still finding success in?
You know, it's a good question. I think about this a lot too. I try to own up to where we are in time and own up, like, because the thing I'm most grateful for is that no matter how things are going for us, we have everything from the past to pull from.
Yeah,
And if somehow Laundry Day existed in the 60s, there's so much shit that we pull from now that we wouldn't have had.
yeah,
And we just wouldn't be who we are without the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, et cetera. Like it's just all like, because we pull from all of it. Um, so that, and I think Laundry Day gets our sound from every decade. Like we pull from all of it. I mean, even like maybe even within Connect Five, you could break it down. You could hear, you know, the 60s thing, and you could hear the 80s dance thing, and you could, you know, there's so much to it. So in that sense, I just love that we're here, for the music.
yeah,
For the success, yeah, maybe this is not the right time. You know, maybe I wish that MTV was still a thing. I think that would be fucking awesome if Connect 5 could be on MTV. Like, of
Yeah.
course, but it's just not what it is. So trying not to romanticize the past too much and just be grateful that we
Yeah.
can do it now.
I get that. I want to talk a little bit about the shows you've been doing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
COVID kind of derailed, everyone's shows. And as of lately, you've played Gov Ball, Firefly, and Lollapalooza, and you've started doing shows at different colleges as well. Are there any big differences with these shows you're doing now versus the shows you performed before COVID hit?
I thought it was going to be super different. And then like the first show we played was Lollapalooza, and it just sort of felt back to normal in a good way. It just felt like everyone had sort of, I said, because I was just looking around and people are dressed in this festival attire, and it almost felt like everyone had like frozen there
Yeah.
for a year and a half and like came right back out in the same outfits, in the same makeup, in the same whatever. Which it was almost a little trippy. Like it felt like a glitch a little bit that like nothing had changed. But if anything changed, it was just the attitude. I think we all just felt so happy to be up there. And in the flow of life before COVID, it was obviously so easy to take things for granted. So that was the biggest thing. You couldn't not just be so excited to go on stage and so excited to have people there and so excited to perform all the songs. So
Yeah.
that was good. And I'm trying to hold on to that. Just embrace every little opportunity we get now. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
even so excited to be talking to you right now. Like, it's great.
I love that. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about like early in your career.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk me through how you first started in the music world?
I mean, it depends how far back you want to go. Technically, I was kind of born into music. As I said, me and my sister, we were just like always, it was just constant singing, dancing. My parents just were playing everything. Um, and stuff that like I didn't even read, like too young to even remember. And it was funny. I was recently went through a Justin Timberlake phase, and I was listening to like Rock Your Body and those songs a lot. And my mom came into it and she heard me listening to it, and she was like, I used to play that for you when you were like 2. And I just like had like this kind of mind blow moment of like, oh my God, like this stuff is so like in my body and I don't even know.
Yeah.
Which was cool. That was a fun realization. But yeah, so to answer your question, it's always been there. It's always been in my body. But as far as like a career, if you want to put it like that, it's just funny to hear you say career. I just can't take it that seriously. But um, it really started with LD. Like I never even really thought about doing music in this way. I was never in a band. I wrote songs just for fun or just for like to like talk about a girl I had a crush on or whatever it was. But until I met Sawyer and until we made our first song together, I'd never done anything like that, really,
Yeah.
or anything I was taking super seriously as a career. So that would be the start in its own way as well.
Yeah.
Freshman year of high school.
Did you like have a specific moment where you kind of realized you wanted to pursue music over anything else you were doing?
You know, as I think about it now, I don't know if there was. I think there were definitely pillars within those first 6 months of doing laundry day stuff that I was like realizing like, oh, this really works, this makes a lot of sense, this feels right. I mean, I remember the moment where we all we realized we were a band. Like we were all kind of sitting together, we were making our like third song we'd ever made together, and it was like, oh yeah, this is like what a band is. And then we came up with a name right after that, and so like those that's definitely a moment for sure. But there was never like an aha, like this is, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was ever an aha moment of like this is it. It just sort of happened gradually, and then it just made sense. And it was like, then I could say this is it, but it wasn't like a snap into it kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. So now I kind of want to talk about so you've graduated now from high school. Uh, I was wondering how you managed to balance being a student and an artist at the same time.
I could ask myself the same thing. It was insane. I mean, it got to the point where we missed like months of school senior year, not counting COVID too. That didn't help. But before COVID, we missed so much school going on. We missed the whole month in Europe. We missed weeks touring, doing other things. So like, um, it was hard, but I mean, it got to the point where we were so committed to LD that it actually made it easier. I mean, it made us perform worse in school, but
Yeah.
it made it easier to balance because we're putting more into LD. Um, the hardest thing about it was just mentally and emotionally, like trying to figure out who we were supposed to be and how to live. Like, and that goes back to what I was saying with like them being the guys in the band being the only people I could truly relate to. That was more true than ever at that time because we were in rooms and in hallways and in like
Yeah.
in cafeterias with people that were just living different. We were in the same school and living a lot of the same life, but the band thing just made our lives completely different. And that was hard because it was just like it got tough to relate to people. It got tough to connect with people. It made me at times isolate myself for sure because I just didn't feel like I could connect with my old friends.
Yeah.
And since then it's changed because I think as everyone's grown up now, it's just easier to just like accept who we are. And I can talk to my other guy friends from school about LD and they can tell me about baseball and the things they're doing at school. Like it's way more leveled out now in a good way where we can all just like accept that who we are at 19, 20.
Yeah.
But at the time it was a little bit harder to navigate that.
Yeah. No, I get that. That makes complete sense. I get that. So, if you could go back a few years to when you're starting out Laundry Day, what would be some advice you would give that younger Jude?
It might sound weird. I don't think I would give any advice.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that we were able to do was just trust our instincts. And we really did that all the way through.
Yeah.
And as time's gone on, especially since COVID, it's a lot harder for me at least to not overthink. And I've always been an overthinker, but COVID just took it up to another level because you just have all this time.
Yeah.
Um, and back then we were just in the moment. It just all felt right. We were just, let's put it out. Fuck it. This is great. Let's put it out. We just did it. And we ended up putting out like 30 songs in a year
Yeah.
because of that attitude. And then, times passed again, COVID and growing up and just understanding what we do more and understanding the industry more. And it just like, it becomes harder to have that attitude. So I would say to myself now, like learn from him, as opposed to vice versa. I think we actually were doing it pretty well then.
Yeah.
If I could say anything, I would say, I don't even know. I mean, the only thing that I regret at times when I look back is that there might have been moments we took ourselves too seriously. But considering where we are now, I wouldn't change it because it got us here. But that's definitely something that's shifted for us and is going to continue to shift. Is just like, you don't have to be like, just be real. Like it doesn't have to be super serious all the time. You don't have to seem like some like, character. You can just be yourself.
Yeah.
I want to be a character sometimes, but
I gotcha. So I got another one for you. This is kind of different than that, but it's gonna tie into some other questions. I just got a couple more after this.
yeah, you're good. You're good.
So you've mentioned before in interviews, you guys have mentioned how Brockhampton and Tyler the Creator were pretty big influences for you guys. You've now had the chance to work with Romil, and you have a great relationship with Brockhampton, and you performed at Camp Flog Gnaw for Tyler. Can you tell me what it's like to live out these dreams that you had when you were younger, and what do you think brought you to this point?
It's creepy, right? I mean, it almost was like some weird manifestation. It wasn't very like heavily thought out, but it just kind of happened where these things just played out. And it was just like the universe was just on our side. It was really crazy. We loved Brockhampton. And then we just randomly got in touch with this guy named JJ who becomes our manager. And then he's like, guys, I want to be your manager and I want to also bring this guy in who's an old friend of mine. His name's Michael and he works with Brockhampton. And then that was like, holy shit. It just like lined up.
Yeah.
And then that, dominoed into the other stuff. But like, it was just like those little things that was just like, oh my God. And like, it kind of helped me learn that if you really like, you put stuff out there and you want stuff, you get put in the right places and you like, it just, I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it feels weird to explain because it was, I mean, I want to say it was a little bit of luck too. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. How did you originally meet JJ?
Literally, I mean, Henry W had like has a block party on his block every year and JJ was just randomly there and his dad randomly met JJ and then they were talking and then he called Henry over and he told him, hey, this is JJ. He's used to work in the music industry. I'm telling him about LD. And then JJ like started listening to our music. We didn't even have Homesick out at this point. And he just like loved it. And so he came to one of our rehearsals and then he came to one of our shows and then he wanted to be our manager. It was just crazy. It was like completely like he got placed into our lap. Insanity.
That's what's up though. That's pretty hype.
It was crazy. And he just coincidentally was on the block. He coincidentally knew someone that lived there and like also like lived near Henry. So they had like weird overlaps too of like knowing the same people. Like he was very in our world, like the kind of thing where like there's a chance I saw him before and like didn't know, like there's a chance we were in the same. You ever think about that? Like,
No, I have.
Like you were in like the same, if you walk past someone at the supermarket that you didn't know at the time, like that shit's crazy. That shit
No, I've had that happen so many times where like I'd realize I had been somewhere with someone who ended up being like a really good friend or something or another. I've had that happen so much and I think about that a lot.
Crazy. It's crazy to think about. Yeah, you know what else? You ever think like I have this theory that you remember the first time that you meet people when they're really important to you.
Yeah.
Like, like, can you like think about those moments where like the people that you're so close with, like you remember that first introduction?
Yeah. No, I get it.
I was thinking about that the other day just because like I remember all the first really real moments I had with every member of the band. Like I can see it like it's like a movie.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, I like that you brought that up.
I was thinking about that last night.
Yeah. And I got 2 more questions for you. So at this point, you've opened for the 1975, Claro, Omar Apollo. What do you think you have left to accomplish?
Oh my God, so much. I mean, those things were unbelievable. Crazy to think that those even happened. And like, those were things that at the time I thought like, oh, there's people that like, this would be their ultimate dream. Like, and for us, it in some way was, I mean, but it was like, it's the way it is. You get that, you do that, and then you want more. And the ceiling gets higher and higher. I think now it's like definitely wanting more opportunities like that, but also like we want to play the stage that we were playing with the 975 again, but we want to play it, That was the best part of like being in those bigger rooms and you're like, oh, I want to do this. And like, same with Claire, like being in Europe, we left that tour being like, the next time we come to Europe, let's do this tour, but we're headlining, like that was so motivating. And that just like put the battery in our back to be like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to play in front of, 1,000 people every night. Or 975, it was crazy.
Yeah.
You just get placed in it. So yeah, doing that, playing the biggest shows we can play, the biggest shows anyone can play. Like I want to play at Yankee Stadium. Like I want to just like, that's how big we go.
Yeah. Then here's my last one. It's a little unrelated to this, but I think it ties together everything pretty well. Who do you think Jude Ciulla will be 5 years from now?
And psychological, I mean, philosophical. Um,
Big brain.
I want to be I want to be in laundry day, happy, feeling like we've worked hard and we've grown exponentially. Um, I want to have made like a classic album with them, like just one of those albums that like is on every the covers on everybody's wall, like that
Yeah.
kind of album. Um, fuck it, man. I want to have a Grammy. I wanted to move that quickly. I wanted 5 years to really feel like we're in a completely different zone.
Yeah.
Um, I just see it happening that way. I just like I have this vision in my mind that at some point it's just gonna click,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna go. I feel like we're just like slowly building up to that moment.
Yeah.
But I think there's just gonna be a point where it just like something happens and it's just finally the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And then it's just gonna go. So I hope that happens within the next 5 years. I mean, I'll be 24, which is crazy too. I'll still be so young. So, which sometimes can be stressful, but I'm lately been very grateful for it because it just feels like there's so much time to get to where we want to be.
Yeah.
And like in 10 years from now, I want to be 30 and we might like, well, there's still time. And you have like Drake turned 35 yesterday. It's like, there's time. There's time. But yeah, 5 years, I hope we're doing well.
Yeah. And the people are going to be asking you 5 years from now where you see yourself in another 5 years.
Yeah.
And after that, another 5 years.
Yeah.
It's just a never ending cycle until you think you're content with everything you put out.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think I ever will be, but
yeah,
there's definitely bucket list items to check off. That's always satisfying. So
yeah,
giving myself that list, giving the band that list is very rewarding, especially when you're able to see things come to life.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. This was great.
Anything you want to talk about that I didn't bring up?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm set. I feel like the only thing I'll say is that what made me think of the meeting people thing was I've thought about that a lot, but yesterday I was thinking about it because I was just having an argument with somebody. And I realized that like I didn't remember the first time that I met them. And it just like gave me this weird feeling of like how important are they really in my life?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just leave with that. I just wanted to I forgot to say that before.
That's deep. Do you have anything you want to plug before you're on your way?
Plug. Connect 5 out now by Laundry Day. Watch the music video, get the whole experience. Follow us on Instagram at Dondryle. That's the D and the L switched. That always confuses people.
Yeah.
But then you see it and you're like, that makes sense. Just like our music a little bit. Yeah, stay tuned. More coming.
That was the interview. I hope you enjoyed it because that was my first interview I ever did, ever. So I hope it came out okay. Make sure you follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It's all at Dondryle. Make sure you follow Jude. His Instagram is at Jude Ciulla, and you can find him on TikTok and Twitter at Young Ciulla. Their album, We Switched Bodies, is coming out this Friday, February 11th. If you're watching this interview, I imagine you're going to enjoy the album, so make sure you stream it. It'll be out on all major streaming platforms. And maybe follow me on my socials. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is all the same. It's all at PD Buchanan. I make music too. So yeah. Thanks for watching.